My name is Lorena, and I did not expect the deepest cut of my life to come from the person who once held my hand crossing the street, the person who used to fall asleep beside me on Christmas Eve, waiting for our parents to say it was time to open gifts. I always believed that blood meant loyalty, that grief pulled people closer, not apart. I know better now. Our mother was dying. Slowly, quietly, the way gentle people leave the world, as if trying not to inconvenience anyone. I moved back into the house to care for her, to cook her meals, to help her bathe, to sleep in the chair beside her bed so she would never wake up alone. I thought my sister Hallie understood that. I thought she appreciated it. I thought we were a team. But Hallie was busy. Busy with her job. Busy with her husband. Busy being seen as the successful one. She would visit for an hour, maybe two, bring flowers and compliments, and leave before the silence settled. Everyone praised her. Family, neighbors, even our aunts. Hallie is such a good daughter. And I stayed quietly in the background, invisible, because no one celebrates the caregiver. They only notice us when we are gone. When our mother passed, the house felt unfamiliar. The walls were too quiet. The air did not smell like tea and lavender anymore. It smelled like absence. I did not cry in front of anyone. I was afraid that if I started, I would never stop. The funeral was simple. Hallie made it look expensive. Matching bouquets. A slideshow. A choir. She loved elegance, Hallie said to everyone, though it was me who learned how to braid her hair when her hands shook. After the service, we met with the attorney to settle the estate. I thought we would divide everything peacefully, fairly, as sisters do. But Hallie came prepared. She arrived in a tailored coat, sat upright, and spoke first. I handled the arrangements, she told the attorney. I paid for everything. I took care of everything. Lorena contributed nothing. So it is only fair that I receive the majority. The room spun. I had spent nearly 2 years caring for our mother while working remote shifts at night, while Hallie lived her life untouched. She knew this. She knew every detail of what I did. She saw it every time she walked into the room and saw me holding our mother's hand. The attorney looked at me carefully. Is that accurate? He asked gently. I opened my mouth. But before I could speak, Hallie slid a folder across the table. Neat. Organized. Professional. Inside was a detailed timeline of visits, responsibilities, expenses, except everything had been rewritten. According to her documents, she was the primary caregiver. I was merely someone who stopped by. She spoke with calm confidence, like someone rehearsing a story she told herself long enough to believe it. She contributed nothing, Hallie repeated. Everyone knows that. I felt the air leave my lungs, not because of what she said, but because I saw that the attorney believed her. My voice sounded small. I was there. Every day. Hallie smiled politely. A smile I had never seen on her before. A smile that did not belong to a sister. Do you have proof? She asked. Proof. That caring for a dying mother happened in receipts and witness statements. I could not speak. The attorney closed the file slowly. We may need to review documentation before we continue. Hallie stood and placed her hand on my shoulder as if comforting a child. It is all right, she whispered. Some people cope by imagining they did more than they really did. Something inside me broke. Not my heart. My trust. I walked out of the room. My hands were cold. My breath shallow. But as I stepped into the parking lot, my phone buzzed. A message from the hospice nurse. Lorena, I found something you should see. Call me. I stopped still. Because if there was one person who saw everything, it was her. And what she had might change everything. I sat in my car for a long time before I called the hospice nurse back. Her name was Marisol. She had been there through all of it. The late-night fevers. The confusion spells. The mornings when our mother forgot where she was, and I had to remind her gently, again and again, without letting her see the grief in my eyes. Marisol was quiet, calm. The kind of presence that made hard things survivable. I finally pressed call. She answered on the first ring. Lorena. Her voice was soft but not unsure. Yes. You said you found something. There was a long pause. The kind that means the words need to be chosen carefully. I was cleaning out old files when I realized something. She said. Your mother signed release forms listing you as the primary caregiver. Not your sister. You were documented. In every chart. Every shift note. Every emergency call. Your caregiving was official. Official. The word struck something deep. Hallie's voice echoed in my head. Do you have proof? Yes, I whispered. I need copies. I already scanned everything, Marisol said. Timestamped, digitally verified. I also have statements from 2 nurses who rotated shifts. They remember you. All of it. The relief that came was not warm. It was sharp. Precise. Like a blade being returned to its sheath. Can you meet me? I asked. At your mother's house, she said. I know you are staying there. We agreed to meet that evening. The house felt different now. Not like absence. More like a held breath. I walked room to room, touching the back of chairs, smoothing blankets, opening and closing curtains, just to remind myself the world had not collapsed. When Marisol pulled into the driveway, I opened the door before she could knock. She carried a plain folder. Not thick, but heavy with meaning. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Hallie and I once braided each other's hair before school. The same table where our mother taught us how to core apples without breaking the skin. Marisol placed the folder in front of me. I want you to know something before you look at this, she said. Your mother talked about you. Often. She knew what you were doing for her. She was never confused about that. I swallowed. Hallie visited, yes, she continued. But you were the constant. The grounding. The safe place. My fingers brushed the folder edge. Inside were copy after copy of chart notes. Lorena assisted with mobility. Lorena managed medication schedule. Lorena present overnight. My name. My presence. Documented. Undeniable. Then I saw an entry written by our mother herself, during one of her clearer days. Her handwriting was weaker, curved, but still hers. Lorena has been my anchor. She gives without asking. Do not let the world forget what she has done. I stopped reading, not because I could not continue, but because I wanted to remember that moment exactly as it was. Quiet. True. Unarguable. Marisol reached across the table and rested her hand on mine. You did right by her, she said. A tear slipped down my face. Only one. I did not wipe it away. This was not grief. This was validation. But as the warmth of that truth settled, something else rose behind it. Hallie. Her confident voice. Her rehearsed timeline. Her certainty that she could rewrite reality and the world would clap for her. She thought no one had evidence. She thought I was alone. I closed the folder. No, I said quietly. No one will forget. Marisol nodded. She understood. Do you want me to come with you when you confront her? She asked. I shook my head. This is something she and I need to face without an audience. I walked her to the door, thanked her, watched her drive away. Then I sat down again. In the silence. Surrounded by proof. By truth. By the ghost of every night I stayed awake so our mother would not wake alone. I thought I would feel triumphant. But I didn't. I felt something else. Resolve. Tomorrow I would see Hallie. Not to argue. Not to beg. But to show her. To lay truth on the table and watch what she did with it. But before I could stand, my phone buzzed. A message from Hallie. We need to talk. Urgently. I am coming to the house. No greeting. No apology. No hesitation. She was already on her way. And I did not know what she thought she was walking into. I saw her car before I heard it. Hallie always drove too fast down our mother's street, as if she could outrun the memories waiting in the front yard. The headlights cut through the evening like 2 sharp blades, searching, claiming, warning. I stayed seated at the kitchen table. The folder was in front of me, closed. Not displayed. Not opened. Just present. The front door opened without a knock. Lorena? She called. Her voice sounded different. Not confident, not triumphant, strained. Tight. I answered calmly. In here. She appeared in the doorway still wearing her work clothes. The kind of polished image she always used like armor. But her eyeliner was smudged. Her mouth pressed too tight. Her shoulders tense. Something was wrong. She didn't sit. She stood across from me as if the chair might break beneath her. We need to settle the estate quickly, she said. No greeting. The attorney is expecting an update. I just looked at her. Hallie hated silence. I knew that. It made her fill the air, reveal more than she meant. She continued. I have an offer from a buyer. A strong one. We could finalize within a week. We split the proceeds. It is the most logical solution. The word logical struck me like a familiar bruise. Hallie, I said quietly, why are you in such a hurry? Her jaw tightened. A small flinch. Barely noticeable, but I saw it. No reason. It is simply time to move forward. But there was a reason. I could hear it hiding in her voice. Who is the buyer? I asked. She hesitated. Her eyes shifted. Just once. To the window. To anything that was not me. A development firm, she said. They plan to renovate. No, I said. Not renovate. Replace. They want the land. They want the house gone. Her silence was confirmation. I spoke evenly. And you already agreed in principle, didn't you? She closed her eyes for a moment. This house is a burden, Lorena. It holds you here. It holds me here. We cannot stay trapped in the past. It is not just a house. Yes, she snapped. It is. It is walls and floors and the smell of old tea and your need to feel important. There it was. Sharp. Exposed. The root. You think I stayed here to feel important? I asked. She looked away again. She was not proud of the words. But she was not sorry either. You think I cared for our dying mother for recognition? I said. Her voice rose, not loud but brittle. You took everything from me. The attention. The sympathy. The role of the good daughter. While I was out trying to keep my life together, you got to be the martyr. The room felt smaller. I did not raise my voice. I did not stand. I simply opened the folder. The sound of paper sliding against wood felt louder than any shout. Hallie blinked. Her face drained of color. I turned the pages slowly, placing them between us like stepping stones. Charts. Shift logs. Medication notes. Staff signatures. Timestamps. Her voice trembled. What is that? Records, I said. The truth you forgot existed. The truth you tried to bury under your narrative. She stared down at her own reflection in the glossy paper. My name is barely mentioned, she whispered. Yes, I said. Because you barely came. She inhaled sharply as if struck. I handled the funeral, she said weakly, as if balancing a scale. I handled her dying, I replied. Silence. The kind that leaves no room for misunderstanding. She sank slowly into the chair across from me, the strength gone from her posture. I did not know, she whispered. I did not realize. I thought. You thought a story told confidently becomes true. Her eyes shone with tears she refused to release. But then, something hardened in her expression. Fear. Not of me. Of something larger. I saw it now. Hallie, I said slowly. Why are you rushing this sale? She exhaled shakily. I owe money. My stomach tightened. To who? Her eyes filled. This time one tear fell. To them, she whispered. Who? And then I heard it. A car door. Outside. Unfamiliar. Hallie's face turned white. They followed me, she said. I stood. The folder still open on the table. Footsteps approached the porch. A knock. Hard. Deliberate. The knock was not the kind a neighbor uses. It was slow. Heavy. A warning disguised as politeness. Hallie froze. Her breath shallow, almost silent. Do not answer it, she whispered. But it was too late. The knock came again. 3 precise strikes. As if the rhythm itself belonged to someone used to being obeyed. I moved toward the window first, just enough to see without being seen. 2 men. Dark jackets. No movement wasted. No expression on their faces. Not friends. Not colleagues. Debt collectors. The kind that do not send letters. Behind me, Hallie pressed her hand to her mouth. You owe them money, I said quietly. How much? Her voice broke. More than I can pay back. How much, Hallie? She swallowed. Half a year. Then, correcting herself the way a frightened child does. Half a year of my salary. Maybe more. My chest tightened. Not with fear. With clarity. She had been drowning. And instead of reaching for me, She tried to sell our mother's memory to breathe. The knock came again, sharper this time. "Hallie," one of the men called through the wood, voice calm, almost courteous. "We know you are inside. We only want a conversation." She shook her head wildly, tears streaking fast now. "They said if I paid part, they would hold off. I thought selling the house would fix everything. I thought if it was quick." "You thought I would not fight you," I said. "I thought you would not know," she whispered. Silence settled between us again. But not the hollow silence of grief. This was the silence of choice. I stepped away from the door. Not to hide. To think. I did not hate her. Even then. I hated the fear that had turned her into someone I did not recognize. I remembered our mother's voice. "If you fight the world alone, the world wins." "We are not opening that door," I said. Hallie nodded, shaking. "Go upstairs," I told her. "Do not speak. Do not make a sound." She hesitated. "Lorena." "We are not done," I said. "But not now. Go." She went. Her footsteps were unsteady, but they carried her up. I waited until I heard her door close. Then I exhaled. The men waited. Patient. Confident. They believed time itself belonged to them. I approached the door again. Not close. Just enough. "Hallie is not available," I said through the wood, voice steady. The response came instantly. "That is unfortunate," the man replied. "Her deadline has passed." My hand tightened at my side. "I am her sister," I said. "Speak to me." There was a pause. Then the tone shifted. Not cruel. Not aggressive. Interested. "Who are you?" "My name is Lorena." Another silence. But a different kind. The man spoke again. "Then you should know the debt is not only financial. It is contractual. She signed collateral." My stomach went cold. What collateral? When he spoke next, it was with the calm of someone who knows the effect of his words before he says them. "The deed to the house." The air left the room. My back straightened. "No," I said. "She does not have the legal authority to sign it. The documentation you hold is invalid. The land title prevents any transfer. Any attempt to enforce it is fraud." A long pause. Then, "So you are the one we should be speaking to." My pulse did not quicken. My voice did not shake. "You will leave now," I said. "And if we do not?" he asked. I stepped closer to the door, my voice low, measured. "Then I will call the county recorder's office, file a fraud report, and follow it with a police statement. You are dealing with an estate dispute, which makes this a civil matter, until coercion enters the picture. Then it becomes criminal. You do not want that paper trail." Silence. One of the men exhaled softly. Then, footsteps. Slow. Retreating. The porch creaked. The car doors opened. Engine ignited. I did not move until the sound faded completely. Only then did I let myself breathe. I went upstairs. Hallie was sitting on the floor, her arms around her knees. She looked up at me like a child waiting to be told if the world was ending. "I did not know how to tell you," she whispered. "You should have," I said. "I was here." She nodded, tears falling again. "I know." I sat down beside her. Not touching. Not forgiving. Just present. "We fix this," I said. "But we do it together." She nodded again. But her voice broke when she spoke. "There is something else I have not told you." I felt the floor steady beneath me, preparing. "What is it, Hallie?" She looked at me. And I knew the real betrayal had not even been spoken yet. She did not speak at first. Her breathing was uneven, her hands pulling at the fabric of her sleeves as if she could hide inside the seams. I waited. Silence is a space people fill with truth when they are ready. Finally, Hallie looked at me. "It was not just the debt," she said. "I signed something else." My stomach tightened. "What did you sign?" She closed her eyes. "A power of attorney." The words hung in the air like a slow-forming storm. I stared at her. "For what purpose?" She shook her head, tears sliding again. "I thought I needed it to sell the house quickly. I thought if the paperwork moved faster, the debt collectors would back off. The attorney said it was the simplest route. I did not read all of it. I just signed." Her voice cracked. "Lorena, I gave him partial control over the estate." The room fell silent. The attorney. The one who smiled too easily. The one who told her liquidation was logical. The one who spoke as if ownership were flexible, not just involved, positioned. He had guided her, shaped her fear, steered her choices, and she had not seen it. Hallie lifted her head, her eyes red, frantic. "I did not know he was working with them," she whispered. I felt something cold settle inside me. Not rage. Something deeper. "The attorney and the debt collectors are connected," I said. She nodded once slowly. "I think so." "How long?" "Months." I inhaled through my nose, slow and even. The air felt heavy, like it carried the weight of every mistake she had made, and every moment I had been left to carry things alone. "We need to get the power of attorney revoked," I said. "You cannot," Hallie whispered. "Not without proving coercion or incompetence." And I signed willingly. I stood. "Then we prove coercion." She looked up sharply. "How?" I turned toward the hallway. "With documentation," I said. "With timestamps. With the truth. You gave him authority because you were under pressure. Because you were not informed. Because he never disclosed the conflict of interest." Hallie wiped her face with her sleeve. "I do not have anything. No emails. No messages. Nothing that shows he manipulated me. But I did. I remembered the hospice notes, the phone calls, the timelines, and the envelope, the one I had not opened yet, the one addressed to both of us in our mother's handwriting. But now was not the moment for that. "We do not need to prove your feelings," I said. "We prove theirs. The attorney's communication trail, the debt collector's messages, their timing, their involvement, their patterns." Hallie shook her head. "You sound like you have already been preparing for this." I met her eyes. "I had to prepare for something long before you realized there was a fight." She looked down, ashamed. "I am sorry," she whispered. "But apologies are not bridges. They are only the first stone." I sat down beside her again. "This is how we move forward," I said. "You do not hide from this. You do not run. You tell me everything. Every detail. Every conversation. Every message. Even the parts that make you look bad. That is how we win." Hallie nodded slowly. "I will tell you everything," she said. And she did. Piece by piece, the truth unfolded. The phone calls. The threats disguised as politeness. The attorney's assurances that she was doing the responsible thing. The way he had used language to make fear seem reasonable. She had trusted him because fear makes people obedient. When she finished speaking, the room felt smaller but clearer. "We go after the attorney first," I said. "He is the hinge. Remove him, the rest falls." Hallie looked terrified. "He will fight," she said. "I expect him to." I reached for my phone. "Who are you calling?" she asked. "A friend," I said. "A friend," she echoed. "Yes," I replied. "Someone who owes me a favor." The line rang once, then twice. Then a voice answered, steady and familiar. "Lorena. I wondered when you would call." Hallie stared at me. "Who is that?" I lowered the phone just enough for her to hear. "My lawyer," I said. "The one I did not tell anyone about. Not even you. Because I had learned a long time ago. When you are the one holding everything together, you prepare for the day everything tries to fall apart." I did not have to explain much on the phone. The man on the other end, Elias Ward, had known our family for years. He had been my quiet advisor during the months I spent caring for our mother. When I needed to understand hospice insurance, medical leave laws, or estate rights, he explained them without pity or judgment. He never asked for anything in return. Now I finally understood why he waited. "Come to my office," he said. "Tonight." Hallie looked panicked. "Tonight? That is too fast." I shook my head. When someone is cornered, speed is the only advantage. She did not argue. We drove in silence. Streetlights passed like slow blinks. The city felt both close and far, like we were traveling through memory instead of distance. Elias's office was small. No glass tower. No marble lobby. Just quiet shelves, warm lamps, a wooden desk that had seen years, not trends. He stood when we entered. Tall. Gray at the temples. eyes that saw everything and judged nothing too quickly. "Hallie," he said gently, "I am glad you are here." She flinched. Not from guilt. From relief. He motioned for us to sit. "I already know about the attempted sale," he began. "The title company contacted me before they contacted you, Lorena." I blinked. "You knew," I said. "Yes. And I have been gathering documents since then." He slid a folder onto the desk. This folder was thicker than mine. Labeled. Tabbed. Prepared. Hallie stared. "You knew what I did before I even told her," she whispered. "Yes," he answered. "Because your actions created legal ripples. Ripples leave trails." He opened the folder. Inside. Email chains. Call logs. Cell tower location records. Screenshots of communications between the debt collectors and the estate attorney. The picture came into focus. The attorney had not just advised her. He had coordinated the debt pressure. Timed it. Escalated it when Hallie hesitated. Fed the fear he needed her to feel. It was not negligence. It was orchestration. Hallie covered her mouth with her hands. Elias continued. "This is grounds for a conflict of interest complaint, a financial coercion claim, and potentially a bar investigation. But before we file, Hallie, I need to hear something from you." His voice was calm, steady, unshakable. "Did he ever tell you that you could lose everything if you did not sign?" Hallie nodded slowly. "Yes. He said if I hesitated, they would come after me. That selling the house was the only way to protect us. He made it sound like I was saving the family, like I was being responsible." Elias closed the folder. "That is coercion. And it is illegal." Hallie started to cry again, this time from relief, not fear. I watched her. And in that moment something shifted. She was not my enemy. Fear was. Elias leaned forward. "We are going to file the injunction in the morning. That will freeze any attempt to sell the house or transfer ownership. Then we challenge the power of attorney. We will win. But there is one more step." He looked at me. "You cannot do this if you are still willing to walk away to keep the peace." Peace. That was the word I used to justify silence for years. I nodded. "No peace built on erasure is peace worth keeping." He smiled, not with joy but with approval. "Good. Then we move." He stood, gathering the documents. But then, his expression changed. Alert. Focused. He glanced toward the window. Headlights. Stopping. Right outside the building. Hallie's breath caught. "Is it them?" she whispered. I stood slowly, feeling the shift in the air. "No," Elias said, voice low. "It is the attorney." A shadow stepped out of the car. Calm. Confident. Walking toward the door. He had come to get ahead of us. He had come because he knew he was losing control. Elias's voice was quiet but firm. "Let me speak first. Do not respond to anything he says. And no matter what, do not leave this room." Footsteps outside. A hand on the office door handle. Hallie grabbed my wrist. The door began to open. The door opened as if it belonged to him. No hesitation. No knock. No acknowledgement of boundaries. Thomas Leary. Estate attorney. Polished voice. Polished shoes. Polished lies. He stepped inside Elias's office with the casual confidence of a man who believed consequences were for other people. "Good evening," he said, smiling as if we were gathered for tea instead of confrontation. "I saw your car, Lorena. I assumed you might be here." He did not look surprised. He looked prepared. Elias remained seated, calm, hands folded. "You were not invited," he said evenly. Thomas shrugged. "I was in the area." That lie was so smooth it did not even ripple the air. His eyes slid to Hallie. "You did not return my calls." Her shoulders tensed, but she did not look away this time. "I know," she said. Her voice was small but it was steady. Thomas's expression flickered for half a second, just a crack, then smoothed again. "Well," he said, "we have a pressing deadline. The buyer is ready. If we act now, both of you walk away with profit. If we delay, interest, taxes, and maintenance costs will make this more complicated." He spoke like someone describing weather forecasts, not the forced dismantling of a home. Elias leaned back slightly. "There will be no sale." Thomas's head turned toward him, eyes narrowing a fraction. I was not speaking to you. Elias smiled. You are now. The room shifted. The balance changed. Thomas felt it. He redirected his gaze to me. Lorena, I understand your emotional attachment. But sentiment does not outweigh logic. The house is a liability. Your sister has debts. You have no realistic means of maintaining the property alone. Liquidation benefits both of you. His words were soft, measured, practiced. He was not trying to convince me. He was trying to reassert control in front of Hallie. I opened the folder Marisol had given me and slid one document across the table. The hospice care chart. Thomas glanced down, and his jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He recognized it. He knew exactly what it meant. This has no legal bearing on the estate division, he said quickly. It has bearing on the truth, I replied. Truth was not his language. Power was. Elias spoke next. We also have a record of all communications between you and the debt collectors who visited the property tonight. The air shifted. Thomas's expression did not change, but his breathing did. I do not know what you are implying, he said. You coordinated the pressure, Elias replied. You pushed the sale through coercion. You did not disclose your relationship with the buyer. And you knowingly advised a client who was under distress without offering her legal alternatives. Each word was laid down like stone. Hallie's eyes widened. She was hearing, perhaps for the first time, how thoroughly she had been manipulated. Thomas blinked once. Then he smiled. Not kindly. Which one of you is willing to testify to that? He asked softly. The room went very still. He thought fear would silence us. He thought the past would hold us hostage. He thought the story was still his to narrate. I placed my hand on the table. Not shaking. Not uncertain. My mother documented everything, I said. And her words carry legal weight. She wrote that I was her caregiver. She recognized my role. Her notarized medical directive lists me as primary decision-maker. The house was entrusted to both of us, not to be sold but to be kept. His face changed now. Just slightly. The smallest crack in a mask. Elias opened his briefcase and took out a single form. This, he said, is a petition for emergency injunction to freeze the estate and suspend the power of attorney pending investigation. It is ready to be filed at the courthouse when it opens. Thomas inhaled sharply, and it was the first sound of real reaction we had heard from him. If you file that, he said, voice low, quiet, and stripped of pretense, this will become very unpleasant for both of you. Hallie flinched. I did not. I looked directly at him. It already is. The room held its breath. For a moment everything stilled. Then, Thomas turned to leave. But as his hand touched the door, he paused and looked back at us. You do not know who the buyer is, he said. His tone was no longer professional. It was cold, personal. You do not understand what you are up against. He stepped into the hallway. And when you do, it will be too late to undo what you have started. The door closed. The office fell silent. Hallie looked at me. Who is the buyer? She whispered. Elias's expression was grave. He already knew. And when he spoke, his voice was not cautious. It was solemn. The buyer, he said, is someone your mother never wanted in this family. Elias did not continue immediately. He let the name sit in the air before releasing it, as if saying it too quickly would change something in the room. Hallie sat forward, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white. Who is it? She whispered. Elias exhaled. Your mother's brother. Uncle Raymond. The room felt colder. I had not heard that name spoken in years. Raymond was the shadow people only mentioned in half sentences. The relative who borrowed money and never returned it. The one who missed every holiday but showed up whenever someone died, smiling and taking things no one had offered him. Hallie shook her head slowly, as if denial might undo the truth. No. He has not been around since. Since he was removed from the house, I finished. Because I remembered. I remembered my mother's voice, quiet, tired but firm, telling him to leave. I remembered the tension, the argument behind closed doors, the way she cried after he drove away. He is the buyer? Hallie whispered. Yes, Elias said. He intends to demolish the house and sell the land to a developer. It is a high-value property. He has been waiting for your mother to pass for years. Hallie covered her face. He used me, she said. He used my fear. He used my debt. Yes, Elias said gently. That is how men like him operate. I stood up slowly. Not in panic. Not in shock. In understanding. This was not only about money. This was about erasing the part of our mother that Raymond could never take from her. The home she built herself, piece by piece, without him. Hallie whispered. So what do we do now? We fight as if the house is already gone, I said. Because he thinks it is. Elias nodded. The injunction will freeze everything tomorrow. But Raymond will not walk away. He will retaliate. Expect it. Hallie looked defeated. Her shoulders sagged. Her voice was small. I do not know if I am strong enough for this. I sat beside her. You do not need to be strong alone. That is how this happened in the first place. You tried to carry fear by yourself. You let it isolate you. You let it make decisions for you. Her eyes filled again, but the tears didn't fall this time. Then help me, she whispered. I already am. We left Elias's office together. The night outside was heavy, the kind that presses on your chest and makes you breathe slower. We drove back to the house. The house. Our house. Our mother's laughter still lived there, even if faint now. Her voice still echoed in the wallboard if you stood still enough to hear it. Inside, Hallie sat on the couch, pulling a blanket over her shoulders like a shield. I walked into the hallway and opened the closet. The envelope was still there. Unopened. Addressed to both of us. Felt heavier than paper should feel. I returned and set it gently on the coffee table. Hallie stared at it. I am afraid of what it says, she whispered. So am I replied. Do you think she knew this would happen? Hallie asked. Yes, I said. Not as a guess. As a certainty. Our mother was not naive. She saw fractures before they formed. She spoke rarely of conflict, because she knew how sharp truth could be when placed in the wrong hands. Hallie reached toward the envelope, then pulled her hand back. Not yet, she said. And I understood. We were not ready. The truth inside that envelope could heal us. Or break us for good. And tonight we needed strategy. Not pain. I went to the dining table where Elias's documents lay. We worked. Side by side. Quiet. Focused. We lined up evidence. Organized timelines. Built the case that would stop Raymond before he could take anything from us. Hours passed like minutes. Then, a noise. Hallie lifted her head. Did you hear that? I did. A sound outside. Not a car. Not footsteps. Metal. Something sliding. I stood. Went to the window. Moved the curtain just a fraction. A figure near the back door. Dressed in dark clothing. Not knocking. Trying the lock. Hallie's voice trembled. Is it them? No, I said. Because I recognized the posture. The stance. The arrogance of someone who believes the house already belongs to him. It is Raymond. The doorknob turned. Slow. Deliberate. We were not ready. Not yet. The back doorknob moved with slow, practiced confidence. Not frantic. Not uncertain. He was not someone trying to break in. He was someone who believed he had the right to enter. Hallie's breath hitched. She stood up too quickly, almost stumbling. Lorena. I raised a hand. Do not panic. Do not speak. We moved silently. No light switched. No sudden motions. The house was old. Every board had a voice. But we knew which steps would stay quiet. I stepped into the hallway, my pulse steady. Not calm exactly, focused. Hallie followed close behind me, trembling. The doorknob stopped turning. Then came a soft, deliberate tapping on the glass. The kind a person uses when they are checking to see whether you will react. I spoke through the door, voice even. Do not enter this house. There was a short silence. Then a voice I had not heard in over a decade, warm in tone. Cold and intent. Adeline. You sound just like your mother. My name in his mouth felt wrong. Like something dragged out of the past without permission. It is Lorena, I said. He laughed. The same amused, patronizing sound I remembered from childhood dinners, when he would mock our father's work or call my mother too sensitive. Open the door, he said, no longer hiding the command inside the courtesy. We should speak face to face. No, I answered. His knuckles brushed the glass, slow and calculating. You are making this harder than it needs to be. The sale is almost finalized. It is frozen, I said. A beat of silence. He had not known that. I continued. And the power of attorney is being challenged. Another silence. Longer this time. Colder. I see, he said finally. So someone has been advising you. He did not ask who. He already knew the answer would threaten him. Hallie pressed her fingers to her lips, trying not to make a sound. Her eyes were wide. Not with guilt this time but realization. He had never cared about her. Only about access. Raymond spoke again, voice smooth as polished metal. You are making an emotional decision. The house is a financial liability. It weighs on your future. I am giving you both an exit. A clean one. We are not interested in your exit, I said. He let out a slow sigh. Not frustrated. Calculating. Your mother owed me, he said. Hallie flinched. I did not. No, I said. She refused you. There is a difference. His tone sharpened. You are young. You do not understand what was promised. What was built. What belongs to the family. The house was hers, I said. And she chose how it would pass on. He tried the lock again. Harder. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so it reached only him. You do not have a claim. And you know it. He stopped. Stillness. Utter and precise. Then, a faint scrape. Metal on metal. He was testing the screws. Hallie grabbed my arm, breath-breaking. Lorena. I did not move. Do not give him fear, I whispered. She nodded, tears forming but not falling. Raymond spoke once more, voice now stripped of pretense. You think you are prepared. You think documentation will save you. But you do not understand who advised me. You do not understand the depth of what you are stepping into. So it was true. The debt collectors. The attorney. The buyer. They were pieces in something larger. Something older. Something my mother never spoke of because it came with danger attached. I placed my hand flat against the door, not as a barrier but as acknowledgement. I am not stepping into anything, I said. You are stepping into my mother's house. And that is where this ends. Another moment of breathless stillness. Then, he withdrew. Footsteps crossed the porch. Slow. Unhurried. A message in every step. This is not over. His car door opened. Closed. Engine started. Headlights swept the windows before fading into the distance. For a while neither of us spoke. Hallie sank to the floor. He is not going to stop, she whispered. He is going to come back. With lawyers. With pressure. With whatever he thinks he needs to take this house. Yes, I said. She looked up at me, eyes shining with a fear deeper than before. What do we do now? I took a slow breath. We do what Mother expected us to do, I said. Hallie's voice trembled. And what is that? I walked to the coffee table, picked up the envelope addressed to both of us. We opened the letter. We sat on the living room floor like children again. Not because we felt young but because we were stripped down to something raw and simple. Two sisters trying to understand the woman who raised us. The envelope lay between us. Hallie reached first. Her hand shook, but she did not hesitate. She slid a finger under the seal and opened it slowly, as if speed might break the message inside. She unfolded the paper. Our mother's handwriting. Soft. Neat. Steady even near the end. I read aloud. My daughters, I know the day will come when fear tries to divide you. Hallie closed her eyes. Hallie, your heart runs fast. When you feel cornered, you make decisions quickly, sometimes without breath. But your love is fierce. You fight for what you think will keep you safe. A tear escaped down Hallie's cheek. Lorena, your heart is quiet. You carry responsibility even when no one sees it. You hold weight until your shoulders bend. But your love is unwavering. You protect what matters. My throat closed, but I continued. Neither of you is wrong. But if you stand against each other, the house will fall. Not because someone takes it, but because you will let each other go. Hallie covered her face with her hands. I kept reading. This house is not inheritance. It is memory. It is where I poured everything I had into raising you. If it cannot be shared with love, it must not be kept at all. A long silence. Then the final lines. Choose each other. Always. That is the only way this home remains a home. Mother. The paper trembled in my hands. Hallie leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. I am so sorry, she whispered. I let my hand rest against hers. I know. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But the door to it had opened. The next morning we filed the injunction. The court stamped the order. The sale froze. The power of attorney was suspended pending investigation. Raymond's plans collapsed before they could take shape. The attorney withdrew his representation under review. The debt collectors backed away once the legal filings began. Pressure without legality is only noise. The house stayed ours. No dramatic courtroom speeches. No shouting matches. Just documentation. Truth. And the one thing Raymond never expected. Unity. Some people think revenge is loud, explosive, destructive. But sometimes revenge is quiet. It is choosing to stay, to heal, to rebuild the bond someone tried to break for their own benefit. Hallie found a financial counselor. I found a lawyer willing to help her negotiate safely. We started repairing each room in the house, not to preserve the past, but to make it live again. Some days are still heavy. Some conversations still hurt. But we are learning, not to forget, but to move forward together. Because our mother was right. The only way the house survives is if we do. If you are listening to this and someone is trying to rewrite your story, keep your records. Keep your truth. Keep your strength. You may be quieter. You may be underestimated. But that only makes your evidence louder when the time comes. And the moment you choose yourself, the whole story shifts.